to today's pick a card. And today, our winner of the free reading is Valerie. Valerie wrote me a question here on tarotinfoplease.com, and all I need is the idea of what it is that you want to have created for you in your own live reading, because I love tapping into what it is you guys want to know. And so, what I'm doing in July is I'm inviting y'all to write to me and let me know what your question is, because I believe that lots of people have the same questions. So, Valerie is a creative. She has self published a book, and she is very curious about how to leverage that creation. She has had a lot of fun with it, and so far it has been fulfilling to her. But she can't tell whether she should go forward with this particular creative project or if she should turn her eyes to something else. And Valerie, I just thank you so much for bringing this reading to us, because I'm a creative. Here I am creating content for my channel. And I think even I, in the level that I am and how much I enjoy the live readings, I wonder sometimes, where is that fork in the road creatively? And how do we decide what it is that's best for us? And so this is my reminder, which I need daily, that I do have an inner being, and that my inner being, the greater part of me, the part of me that's never worried or afraid, the part of me that wants to guide me forward, is always pouring out guidance to me. This is the little me, my personality, Catherine, and the one who does get nervous and afraid when I'm being creative and needs the comfort of my inner being. When we are in concert, when we are in harmony with one another, we do the best, and I have more success. You might recognize some of this from the work of Abraham Hicks. They're my heroes, because I do believe that my highest self is unworried about my life, and I would love to have more access to the calm, gentle guidance of my inner being. So if you're joining me today, welcome. I am Catherine. This is Fish Out of Water Tarot. My whole goal is to help people feel more comfortable in their own skin, to feel their value. A lot of us were raised by wolves. I'm just teasing. But a lot of us, our families were not as secure, and they were not as it's consistent as we needed, and some of us grew up doubting our own abilities. And so today, I'm taking this psychic tarot, and it's for love. And the reason I picked it for Valerie's reading is because self-love is so important in any creative endeavor. So I will be doing three piles. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide this deck. Let me move my candle here for a second. I'm going to divide this deck into three relatively equal piles here, best I can. And then I'm going to use only a partial deck for each card, okay? All right, good. We have our three decks. Now, next, I'm going to draw the bottom of the deck as our significator card today, because when you're a creative and you're maybe you could be stuck in a creative block where suddenly you have a deadline and your creativity goes to sleep, right? That's no fun. Wait, why am I doing this backwards? So pile one, this is what you're not seeing. And again, this particular reading is for creatives, but anybody could listen in, okay? So the first one is success and growth. So this is, when I think of Valerie, who asked our question today, I'm grateful that I picked this deck already, because isn't this the way it is when you are a creative and you've had something that you've produced that is bearing fruit, but you feel something guiding you away from that project and into something else. So that could be going on. Pile number two, when it comes to creativity and what's going on for you. If you're a content creator, anything where you have to perform and creativity is involved. So pile 2, how interesting. Helpless and hopeless, and yet look at the sun, right? Always guiding, always guiding. So interesting too, also we have 2 8s. And for pile number 3, we have change your focus. All right. So we are going to jump right in. We'll start with pile 1, and then we'll go to pile 2 and pile 3. And there is a pile 4 because Valerie, because she wrote to me and asked me a question, I'm going to draw personal cards for Valerie at the end of today's reading, and you all are welcome to join us and look over my shoulder as I draw cards for Valerie. All right. So with no further ado, let's get to, don't you love how we all say that, all of us tarot people? Let's go right to work here with our pile number 1. When it comes to creativity, creative blocks, when it comes to being able to hear from your inner being when you need to, what is it that will be helpful? All right, so let's draw our 2 supporting cards. And we have, let me move these things and make room. Okay, so we have feeling alone and spread your wings. Okay. All right. So the heart of this message is for someone who has created something, may have invented something. I'm an inventor, and if you look at the description box, you will see several of my inventions that I created to help you guys release some disappointments. I'm kind of a disappointment dissolver. I've never called that of myself before, but I feel when I work with my clients and when I read the cards, it's all about dissolving our disappointments, dissolving the things that have set you back. Because when you were 4, 5, 6 years old, your creativity ruled the day. You didn't have enough consciousness to be worried about life as an adult, and you really got into imagination. But sometimes what can happen is it can leave you very isolated because your imagination could be so strong that you create almost like imaginary playmates when you were a kid. And even now, with the world of tarot reading, you may feel attracted to my voice. You may have visited me many times before, and if you did, I thank you for that. But ultimately you can feel alone when most of your friends are internet connected. So as I look at this for Valerie and for anyone who wonders, should I keep working on this creative project I am in right now, or should I turn from it, allow it to root and grow as it is, and move forward to something else? So here I feel, Valerie, check in with yourself. Are you too isolated? Are you someone who's an intent creator? You love doing what you do, but the truth is you are providing your own light and you're feeling disconnected. I know that when you created your book or your last project, it created connection. See how all these branches are reaching forward? So as a creative, you can rest assured that there are people who are growing and loving what you've done so far. And see the light here? It's the same light here. So I think pile number 1, you're definitely being called to explore something else. This is not going to die away. It's going to keep bearing fruit for you. Now notice that there's no fruit on the tree yet because Bella, thank you. I'm sorry, you guys. But it's not bearing fruit yet. See, it's just leaves. So I feel like if you leave this out and let it collect steam, let it do its thing, and then begin, perhaps it's another book, or perhaps it's some other creative endeavor that has been calling your name. But it does seem like stretching your wings, trying out another avenue will help you connect. And also, this project may end up just being a resume builder, okay? This might be something that's like a brochure. For example, take a look at my channel. It's fairly extensive, it's got lots of readings. However, it's like a brochure for me. My channel is about introducing myself. You hear my voice, you get a take on my readings, and then if you want private work, you can contact me. If you want to be served in this kind of reading, again, you just email me and I'll create a reading for you. So this brochure that is my channel is just an introduction, right? So that might be exactly the word you need at pile one if you're struggling to understand how to chain together your creative content so that it forms something, all right? But it's very important that you acknowledge to yourself the alone feelings that you have, because collaborations make real magic. Also, if you happen to be a tarot reader or have oracle cards, I'm working on a new project and I would love to work with you and have you help me out and I'll help you out. So email me if you are a tarot creative and I would love to connect with you. Okay, so that's our pile one. Welcome everyone. Thank you for jumping in with me. I'm Catherine. This is Fish Out of Water Tarot, where I love to help people have a stronger sense of who they are, that they could build their self-concept and get out of their own way. If you're in a creative block, it sucks, especially if you have a deadline. So as you know, or maybe you don't, I work completely for free here on my lives just for tips. You may offer me a tip by hitting the thumbs up, and for that, I am deeply appreciative. Secondly, in a collective reading like this, all you have to do is make a decision that this is your reading and that I am your personal tarot reader of the day, because I'm live. This is a real person. See, no AI here. All right, so pile number two. Oh my. So pile number two, I feel you. This has been exactly my energy as a creative. I have self-published a few times. I have a couple of active blogs that are less active now that I'm more active on YouTube. But the idea of knowing that you have a great idea, that the idea in your mind, see how that beautiful glow, when you first look at this, it looks like he's looking into the future, that there's a destination to get to, but the choice of which way to go. Neither way goes toward the light, right? And so I have felt that way so many times when I'm creating. I get doubtful and I get very self-conscious. For example, I'll use tarot because it's right here. But when I very first started a couple years ago, when I looked at how many tarot readers were online, I thought, well, who's going to care? How do I make myself known, right? So the feelings of being helpless and hopeless are absolutely part of the creative process. So let's take a breath together, please. Helpless and hopeless can be assets. What? Let's take a peek, pile two. What in the world is Catherine saying today? How could hopeless and helpless be assets? Because you feel like an ass, don't you, when you're stuck? So let's take that ass, turn it into an asset. Cards. What do you have for our sweet watchers today in pile two? And we have embrace. What did I just tell you? What did I just tell you? Asset, right? So if you can look at the times of your worst, like your least productive times, when you can't create your way out of a paper bag, right? And you feel helpless and hopeless. May I ask you a question, pile two? Is there any victim language floating around in your world? Any complaining? Some people don't think it's complaining because they're just being realistic. I used to be married to somebody who would say that to me. I'm not complaining, I'm just being realistic. And I'm like, well, you know what? If I have an idea, there's 999 reasons why the idea will work perfectly. And there's one reason it will fail. My ex would point out that one reason. And he would be correct. If that one thing happened, my idea would be crushed. But he didn't have the ability to say what I needed to hear to keep going. Because ultimately, when you're a creative, you will have countless forks in the road. You may be working for someone that wants you to design some sort of campaign, and you get your idea in your mind and you're feeling this is the best way. But your boss, your collaborators are insisting that you take a different way. This happens with creatives. If you're writing songs, if you're writing books, if you're writing advertising, if you're a content creator, your YouTube statistics will tell you you better do this or the numbers won't grow. And your own gut is saying, no, I'm doing it this way. Now, I personally am in this situation because I only do lives Monday through Friday. A part of me wants to do them 7 days a week, which I could, but it doesn't ring right with me. Where's the rest of my life fit in? And can I prioritize my content delivery? So the light is echoing to this choice point. Learning to embrace this part of you is going to change your world. And I'm going to give you one of my favorite processes here in just a second of how I've worked myself out of standing here thinking one of these choices is better for me. And if I make the wrong choice, the mistake could end everything. Now, wait a second. Can you hear the drama? Can you hear that? That's ridiculous. We have countless forks in the road from the time we stand up to walk for the first time and we fall. We get back up and we do it again. There is no place in a creative, intelligent life to stop. Take a chance. If you go this way, guess what? It'll lead to a certain set of circumstances that will guide you to what you want. If you take this way, you will get another path, but you are centered. There's a call on your life, pile 2. Learning to embrace both parts of you will cause a tremendous upheaval in your creative energy. Okay? And your other card here is strengthening bonds. I love this for you, pile 2. There's something going on with your family of origin. All right. Some of your doubt, some of your insecurity about making a good choice is coming directly out of your childhood. You could have had a mom who was just frightened because of something going on in her own life. And she was always saying, be careful, be careful. Make sure your doors are locked. Make sure. So you were raised with a lot of structure around you that made you very concerned about making a mistake. Now, that may or may not be you, but if there's people in your life who in the past have been highly critical, you need to strengthen the bonds with your inner being. Remember, we all have a non-physical part of ourselves that is closer than a brother and closer than a mother. This is the part, the electricity of us that keeps us alive. It is to our highest self's best interest that we cooperate and collaborate here first. If you are in this position, you are not aware that you have an inner being. It's like, I love when Abraham teaches that every time you feel like shit, sorry to use that word, but every time you feel out of sorts and not sure what to do, that's because you're looking at your problem as this little part of you, and you forgot that you have an inner being. I do. Several times a day. Why? Because every time I start to become worried or upset, I know that my personality is hijacking my whole brain and making me focus on how lost I feel. But once I decide that my creative content is not my idea, pile 2, you did not choose this. You are gifted. And it's tough to be a creator. And for Valerie, our prize winner for today, Valerie, your book is wonderful for you. And it's something that was designed to come through you for the good of humanity. And so as you keep leaning into your higher self for guidance, you will realize it really doesn't matter which path you take. That's the truth. Either one will get you there. This inner being that loves you more than you can imagine wants to connect you with the people who are going to help you advance your career. Notice that all of the figures are alone. So it is a time to become collaborative, to look for a writing group, look for an improv group, look for some way that you can gather with creators that love to create like you do. When you strengthen bonds with fellow creators who have walked this many times before, where they've had to make that choice, this is something that is part of your maturing as an artist. One last idea that I'm thinking of is that mentors are wonderful. If you need a mentor, pick someone that you admire who's good at what you're doing and shoot them an email. Ask them. I would love to know more about how you got to be so successful. Would you consider being my mentor? The worst thing that could happen is that they would say no. But the truth is, when you approach someone for mentorship, be ready to have a value add on for you. What can you bring to their life? How could you bring something to this mentor that would even the scales? Maybe your mentor has a YouTube channel and you could offer to be a moderator on some of their calls. Maybe they could use a researcher for their writing. If you need help, look to someone that's already successfully doing what you're doing and ask questions, okay? So, pile two, this is really a tender message, especially for me, because as a content creator, I find myself here sometimes. In fact, I will tell you, when I got the idea to ask you guys to help me build my readings, and I thought to myself, you know what? People write me and ask me questions time to time, but what if I was able to take that as a sign from the universe that it would be a good idea to ask you guys, what would you like to hear a reading about? And you know what? It's been fantastic. Each reading that I've done last couple weeks have been themed by your questions. So today is Valerie, and I'm tickled pink to offer this for her. And at the end of the the three piles, I'm going to draw a reading personally for Valerie. It's my delight to do that. If you all would like to have a reading, this is all you need to do. Just email me. And then Monday through Friday in the morning, about this time, I will do your reading. It tickles me pink to be your personal tarot reader. Okay, so pile number three. We're looking at creatives. We're looking at content providers, writers, artists. You may work for yourself. You may be an entrepreneur. But this particular reading is for that question. How do you know when a project is done enough and that it's time to go to the next project? Okay, so pile three, what we have here, change your focus. This definitely looks like a clear indication, doesn't it? It shows for pile three that yes, this is a solid yes, that turning away from that previous project is your highest path. Now, what I like here is these four birds that are flying this way. I also like the fact that this line of trees is in the future. So this is a very vibrant energy. What I'm also noticing is the blue. So I want to focus your attention right now on speaking your truth. All right? Let's everybody take a breath, please. Now, what do I mean? Why is speaking your truth so important right now? And then I'm also noticing this yellow on her headdress. So I'm going to comment on that just a little bit, but let's just draw. Oh, thank you for the tips. Those thumbs up are my tips because, of course, I'm working for free today as my introduction to y'all. And I appreciate, subscribe, please. You'll be notified every time I go live. And I like to do surprise live readings. I toss them in whenever I feel like it because I can. So let's take a peek. What's going on here? Ah, beautiful. Oh, I'm so glad for this. Yes, yes, yes. All right. Pile 3. I am very excited for your reading because it does look like your previous project has reached a logical conclusion. That the efforts that you've put forward have paid off. They got you started. Your journey from before you, in Valerie's case, she wrote a book. So, using that as an example, so your travel from the concept of that book through the whole production, getting yourself on lulu.com, all of that is happening. And I'm going, with Valerie's permission, I will add the link to her book into the comments because then y'all can check it out. But it does show that your concept did come to a cycle conclusion. The blue of that heart chakra, of the throat chakra, it always is a pull for me to speak your truth no matter what. And now I see, look at how the blue garment goes right over the throat and up over her ears. So, what I'm seeing is this is a very personal message for someone that's in love with their project. There comes a time in all content creators, book writers, paintings, whatever it's your musical pieces, where you fall so in love with the project, you lose your objectivity. And because it's almost like a soulmate to you. I've had that happen with some of my earlier projects because I did a lot of things. I have done a lot of things, and I started my channel just a couple years ago with tarot. So this is a new avenue for my readings after all the decades of readings. But if I fall in love so much with what I do, I'm not aware of the changing times around me. I may not be as fulfilled and soul satisfied by my creativity. So, Valerie, the very fact that you asked the question, and those of you in pile 3, you may be questioning, how do I know for sure it's time to change focus? So, here we have this. This is the same as this, it's the same imagery. We have within us, we have this inner being, a part of us that's connected to the divine. I believe that with every beating heart, thump of my heart. I have gone through some life-threatening situations, including a life-threatening illness. And I know that I kept my spirits up by depending on the fact that I have an inner being. And the only reason I ever feel lost is because I'm not looking at my situation like my inner being does. This is reflected in this card. You might think that's the inner being. No, this is the inner being. Our inner being is fully technicolor, juicy, exciting, carrying more talent than we can even use in this lifetime. We can't be the inner being, but we can collaborate with it. Because this shadowy figure here, notice that the blue, this is our little scared self. This is when we forget. Like if this being was standing right there and the personality part, Catherine, was like way over here somewhere. This part of me is still throbbing with my talent, the talent that I think I have, because we humans are so, what's the good word? Narcissistic, self-absorbed, or we're just so focused on one single project that we're not even seeing that first thing you created, it's nothing compared to all that is coming your way. So, with the lead card, can you let your inner being guide you? Can you believe that you are loved? Can you? I forgot to give a tip to that second pile about the fork in the road. So, I'm going to add that. But the point is, your ability to love yourself, flaws and all, is your key. Pile 3, I hate to call you on it, but you're so self-critical and judgmental of your own self. I think part of you doesn't even trust your inner being. Some of you may wonder, do I have an inner being? And so your faith or your beliefs are being stretched. But the self-love message is absolutely incredible. Okay, so I'm going to put some resources into the community, and that's where I share everything. Those of you who are new to me, please check out the community tab on this channel, because if I like it, I use it. I use techniques every day to feed my creativity. Self-love is not easy for me because I was raised in a little bit of a difficult situation, and I have a lot of fear of making a mistake. And so I'm learning to say things like this. Even though I'm afraid of making a mistake, I know my inner being isn't. Even though I'm afraid to make the wrong choice, I know my inner being isn't. I don't believe my inner being's afraid of a damn thing. The only thing I forget when I'm getting nervous is that I have one. So the greatest action step of self-love is to simply accept that you have an inner being. Okay, if you're not familiar with Abraham Hicks, you want to be, because they talk all the time about being in the vortex, which is the same as being in communion with yourself, with your deepest sense of wisdom. If you guys are not familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza, I just love listening to him. But he gets a little overly technical sometimes for me. But his meditations, where he says in there, there's a part of you within that loves you so much. And every time he says that phrase, I get goosebumps, because I'm 71. I'm just starting to understand that I've had an inner being all of my whole life. And I didn't understand some of the difficulties and the forks in the road that I've had to go through, but I made it. I made it through, and I want to give my inner being the credit that it deserves. Now, I'm just going to go back in time, because I can, because I am the queen of the readers. Where is, I'm trying to find my card with the helpless and lost. So let me see here. Where's my helpless and lost? Oh, there. Okay. There he is. Okay, I'm pulling up. I'm kind of out of order, but this is something I'm so glad to be doing these live readings in front of you and making mistakes, because some things that stop people dead in their tracks is the fear of making mistakes or looking foolish. And I'm telling you, once you start doing lives, you lose that real quick because mistakes happen. But pile 2, we had this helpless and hopeless, and I was going to give a tip for how to deal with this as a creative. And it's such a fun tip. What you do is you make a short story, you write something, you could paint something if you're that type of artist, but you want to create a role of character that's helpless and a character that's hopeless, and let them talk to you. If when you do your journal, you could say, hello, helpless, how are you feeling today? Why are you feeling so helpless? And you want to know the key to making this work? Use your non-dominant hand. It's called two-handed journaling. And what you do is you allow the helpless energy that's in you to use your non-dominant hand. You use your dominant hand to ask the helpless, why are you holding me back? And when you set your pencil or your pen into your non-dominant hand and let yourself write back the answer, it's deeply moving, because when you use your non-dominant hand for anything, it lights up a part of your brain that never gets used for anything else. When you start to write with your non-dominant hand and it feels so awkward, that's good, because awkwardness is something to embrace. It's part of the creative process. So try that, would you? Left hand and right hand writing. Have your dominant hand ask a question of the helpless energy, and then do it again with the hopeless energy. And as you write the answers with your non-dominant hand, you're going to get something very special. Okay? It's one of my favorite techniques. Anyway, for you, pile 3, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to identify how sure are you of this whole inner being idea. So you can use the left hand, right hand idea to write to your being, to your inner self, what can I do to encourage more self-love? What can I do to encourage you to trust me more? And you can address your writing to the part of yourself that's nervous or afraid to let go of the past and move forward in creativity. When you allow yourself to answer with your non dominant hand, you may be surprised at the amount of emotion you may feel. Okay. And again, if these readings are not quite right for you because your situation is different, please email me. I will create a reading especially for you, just like I'm going to do for Valerie right excuse me, for Valerie right now. I am so grateful for Miss Valerie because she sent me a question that enabled us to have this reading. And aren't we grateful? So, everybody who wants to give some flowers to Valerie, hit that thumbs up. Let's decorate the reading with more thumbs up. And to support Valerie because I know she's watching along. Valerie, we love you. We are excited and congratulate you on writing a book. I believe that there's some people watching right now who have a book inside of them and they have just been putting it off. There's already enough books. I feel like somebody listening to me right now that you've said that to yourself. Who needs it? There's 1,000 books on this. They don't need my voice. Well, you may be right. You may be should be using your voice on YouTube, right? You may be a creative that your friends have been telling you need to be on YouTube, and they've been telling you for years, right? And so you're afraid of that or intimidated. Also, one of my heroes is named Pam Grout. She wrote a book called E Squared, and that book changed my life. It changed the trajectory. Everything happened after I read that book, and I recommend it highly. But the first name of the book was God Does Not Have Bad Hair Days. She wrote that book with that name and put it in her basement. And then after a while, I think she said it was a year or something, it occurred to her to get that book out and change the name. That book changed her life. It put her on the map. And it was so successful that everything shifted. So you may be like that. You may have something that you did years ago that right now it's time to bring it back out. So, Valerie, welcome. Thank you so much for writing the question and really having a significant impact on creatives here on YouTube, artists, musicians. I believe you have opened a door to consideration. I appreciate that. So, Valerie, this is your reading. First of all, the bottom of the deck. This is what you're not seeing about your project. Hello. And it's another 8. So 8 is a number of completion, and it's also like the 8. If you look at it, it's also what do you call that? I lost the name in my mind. Where it's the figure 8. Oh darn! You guys probably know. But it's infinity, right? The infinity sign is an 8 laying down. And so with 3 8s coming through this reading, I am sure for you, my dear Valerie, that you are just in the middle of a wonderful creative endeavor. I think that this first book is just the beginning. You learned a lot from it, and to trust that you can walk on and something else just as exciting is ahead for you. Now, what I'm looking at here on the beach, see that little flower laying there? I'm just pulling it close so I can see it. Wow. Oh, there are several flowers there. Okay, I didn't notice them. Can you see the little flowers along the way? That gets excuse me. Okay, anytime my throat does this funny thing, I always have a signal. That's my signal for throat chakra problems. So I feel like in this situation, Valerie, you may have a part of yourself that is not speaking up. I think that you're in an inner battle and you feel a little bit like you would be abandoning your project. And I sense that there's a bit of a tug of war. And so I feel for you, Valerie, these flowers that are along the way are very important because you are going to find breadcrumbs. The universe is going to leave you breadcrumbs that you're going to know for sure you're walking towards something that is at least as satisfying as your previous project, and probably even more satisfying. In all the times I've used this card for readings, honestly, I've never noticed those flowers. My attention always goes to the figure, and I see the figure walking away, and sometimes I feel like there's a bit of sadness or a bit of, like, oh well, why did I bother energy? And I'm telling you, Valerie, that is not what I'm seeing for you. Okay, let's draw your next two cards here. Oh, spread your wings. And spread your wings came out in the other reading. So be sure to go back and take a peek at that. I love when cards duplicate. And then we have opportunity beckons. All right. So Valerie, I feel like all through our readings today that it's Aquarius strong. You are an Aquarian. And Aquarians, I know, it's hard to pin down an Aquarius. Aquariuses love freedom. Okay. So I think that part of what this truth, see all the blue? There's just blue everywhere. I think that you may have tried to talk yourself into some things. I think that you're more ready to move to your next project than you realize. This to me is the heart of what I'm feeling for you, Valerie, that even though a part of you is very excited about what could be created next, there's a part of you that sees the future. There's an imaginative, excuse me, so interesting imaginative part of you that's knocking on your door. Something needs to be written, something's ready to be said. You're holding it back a little bit because you do feel a bit of abandonment, like you're abandoning the project. That just the words just keep coming to me. But the reality is the project's alive and well. Right now, you've got it out there. It's available. If you can do some promotion, there's ideas you could do. You could give the book away as a free, something that's free that they could then become attached to your email list or something so that they would want to purchase something later. There's so many different ideas you can do with marketing. And so, yes, there's more to do. However, look at how he's looking down, and it almost looks like he's sad, and yet opportunity is beckoning. If you're a creative, how exciting is it if somebody's interested in your work? When you guys write to me and I get an email that says what Valerie asked, I get excited. I feel connected to y'all. And that makes my juices go, my creative juices. If I got called to something else, if I felt the universe wanted me to write a book or do something different, I would feel like this because I love doing this so much. However, in your case, with a single production, single book, it's just looking like it's time to spread your wings. Don't let a sense of artificial sadness or grief capture you. You must remember, Valerie, that you do have an inner being. And as much as I know you loved writing the book and putting it together, isn't it true it was inspired? Isn't it true that your higher self flowed? Isn't it true that parts of the book kind of wrote themselves? That's when you're in that delicious creative flow, Valerie. And it just, to me, it's having that trust to release this project to its highest good, to say, okay, I've done it, I've loved it, this is what I've learned, and I am going to listen and watch for that next opportunity, because there are people who are curious about you, Valerie, and they really want more of what you've written. The idea that's coming to me right now, I don't know, take it or leave it, but I'm sensing that there may be a project around your Aquarian nature. Maybe you could write an ebook or a book about being an Aquarian and what that's about creatively. Maybe you're being called into a world of having a sphere of influence with people who already get you, which would be the Aquarians. I'm a Scorpio, and so my Scorpio nature creates very interesting flow in my relationships. And Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra, the air signs, they tend to be difficult for me. I feel frustrated sometimes because of their communication style. And so I would love to see you be able to bring some light. Look at how the back is turned on all these figures. What is it in your life that you know intimately that you could produce next that will make these figures turn around? Because they're curious about you. So, Valerie, that's it. I feel like in your case, thank you so much for writing the question. And all y'all, I suppose not many of you have watched this entire reading, but you could have. And Valerie, this whole reading, all of these cards are for you and for the collective. So if you, dear viewer, if you would like to have 40 minutes recorded around your issue, run, don't walk to your keyboard, send it to me, because this is the juiciest work I'm doing right now, because it's live, it's you, and it's not AI. Yeah, there's a lot of AI tarots out there right now. Did you notice that? So that's all I have for you, my dear, dear friends. Thank you so much for being with me this morning. I will be live later this evening, early evening, late afternoon, whenever it happens. I'm going to do my chat with Kat call where you guys can actually talk to me and chat with me. I draw one card for each person that comes to the party, and I would love to welcome you back later today. But if this is all the time you have, go forth and prosper. Have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday, and I will see you on the next reading. Bye.